Your 20s are absolutely critical. And while you don't have to have everything figured out at this stage in your life, your 20s are the best time to build strong financial habits that will exponentially benefit you later in life. And I think I found that the major problem for most people in their 20s today is that they're stuck. There's so much information out there on careers and finances that it can be hard to research it all and find out what to do and what's best for you. And that doesn't mean you won't make mistakes, because you will. But the more you can do to limit those mistakes and to build your personal finance skills and habits, the quicker you'll be able to build wealth and live the life you want. So I'm going to try to help, and I'm going to try to simplify things as much as possible. So here's 5 financial goals that I think you absolutely need to accomplish in your 20s. And some of these are going to take some work, but I think you'll find that if you work on them a little bit every single day and you build on that growth, these goals are actually very attainable. And of course, I have to add the disclaimer, none of this is specific financial or investment advice. Before you do any investing, make sure you research things on your own, and if you need to, make sure you talk to a certified financial advisor. And also, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks. But moving on from that, let's go to number 1 on the list of financial goals that you should accomplish in your 20s, which is finishing your schooling or education, and that includes paying for it. Your 20s are essentially for getting educated and getting started in your career. So you should definitely be taking time to explore, finding out what type of work you enjoy, finding out what you're good at, but also you should find something that will be able to support you financially. And once you find that, you should try to finish that education as early in your 20s as possible. And by the way, this doesn't necessarily mean college. This could be trade school, tech certifications, or any other type of education for a specific skill set. I think that college can still be a great option, but it's definitely not the only option. And college can be a bad option if you end up studying something that's not going to benefit you later in life. And honestly, don't overthink it. You're not boxed into your major for your whole life. I think most people will tell you that they end up pivoting in their careers at some point and doing something completely different. As you figure out what you like and what you're good at, your career is going to evolve over time. It's not all set exactly on what you study in college. But back to our goal. Find out what you want to get educated in, finish that degree or training as early as possible, because the sooner you start your career and you start earning money and building those financial habits, the better. But when I say finish your education, I don't just mean actually finishing the education. I also mean paying for it. You should not let any loans related to college or education follow you into your 30s. And the best way to do this is to pick a school that's good, but also affordable, and just pay for it as you go. Maybe you have help from your parents, maybe you don't. Either way, that's fine. But if you pick a good, affordable school and you work really hard while you get your degree, again, I'm not saying this is going to be easy, but if you do that, it is possible to graduate debt-free. I personally think a great way to do this is to start at a community college to do your general classes, and then once you decide what you want to major in, you can transfer to a 4-year university for your bachelor's degree. But if you do find yourself taking out student loans, or if that really is the only option, then once you graduate from school, again, you should start working as early as possible, and you should be absolutely grinding to get those loans paid off as soon as possible. Because if you keep them hanging around to your 30s or your 40s, they're just going to eat away at your finances, and they're definitely going to prevent you from building wealth and investing. So best case scenario, you don't take out student loans, but if you must, grind, pay them off. You should have that done by the time you finish your 20s. Okay, the second goal that you should strive to accomplish before you reach the end of your 20s is to have 0 consumer debt. And by consumer debt, I really mean anything that's not a mortgage or maybe a reasonable car loan. Typically, consumer debt is used to buy lifestyle items that you cannot afford. And this can include vacations, expensive clothes, expensive cars. Really, it's just anything you cannot afford. And a lot of times, consumer debt is racked up by using credit cards. And I have 2 key issues with consumer debt. The first one is that any money you have to put towards paying off consumer debt cannot be put towards investing or other goals that are actually going to build your finances. So in other words, when you use credit cards or consumer debt to fund a lifestyle you cannot afford, you're literally just doing so at the expense of your future. You have to pay that back sometime, and it's going to prevent you from putting your money where you actually want to. You're just digging yourself further and further in a hole instead of actually getting out of that hole and building something great. My second issue with consumer debt is that the interest rates on consumer debt and credit cards are extremely high and predatory. Credit card interest rates are higher than 20%. So if you're not making payments, you're letting that balance grow at an alarming rate. And if you're just making minimum payments, you're gonna end up spending like 3 times more than the original balance just to get that card paid off. Remember, compound interest works both ways. So the longer you hang on to any high interest debt, the quicker you're gonna start to descend into that hole. So in your 20s, avoid all consumer debt. Don't even take it out in the first place. live below your means, and make smart decisions with your money. Nobody really cares about the clothes you wear or the car you drive, and if they do, it's probably time to get new friends. Now, if you're already in a situation where you have consumer debt, you need to get that paid off as quickly as possible. Just like with student loans, you do not want to bring that into your 30s or your 40s because it's almost impossible to get ahead financially with this type of debt. Another reason I want you to get it paid off is because if you have consumer debt later in life, I'm assuming you have not been doing any investing and you have not been taking advantage of compound interest, meaning you just missed the best decade of your life for compound interest. So we'll get into the power of compound interest in a minute, but for now, just take care of your money, make good decisions, be frugal, and say no to credit card debt. And the other crucial thing is hitting that subscribe button. It really helps the channel. I would really appreciate it. But okay, that's the last time I'll ask. All right, the third financial goal that you should strive to accomplish in your 20s is to have at least 1 year worth of your salary saved up in retirement investments. And I like this part. Now we have the negative stuff out of the way, the debt is gone. So now we get to talk about the fun part, investing. Investing is arguably more important in your 20s than in any other stage in your life, and that's because of compound interest. Compound interest is so powerful at this stage of your life that it even matters when you start investing within your 20s. The sooner you get started in your 20s, the better. To paint this picture, here's what each dollar invested until age 65 would be worth, assuming you invested that dollar at various points within your 20s. If you invested that dollar at age 20, it would be worth almost $32 at age 65. For any dollar you invest at age 25, that dollar would be worth over $21 at age 65. And at age 30, that $1 invested would be worth $14.79 at age 65. And yes, you see that correctly. Even just waiting 1 decade, so from age 20 to age 30, means that your invested dollars have less than half the potential of any dollar that you invest at age 20. So I hope this paints the picture that you need to start right now. I previously did a video that talks about how much you need to have invested at each stage of your life in order to accomplish your retirement goals, so I'll link that right here if you want to check it out. But a good general rule of thumb is to make sure that you have at least 1 year worth of your salary invested for your retirement. This means that you've gotten in the habit of investing, you've learned the skills of investing regularly, and you've just been contributing and dollar cost averaging little by little. But by no means should you limit yourself to this. This is just a rule of thumb and kind of a baseline. If you can invest more, you should. Because remember, like we just talked about, any money invested in your 20s is going to earn a lot more from compound interest than at any other stage in the rest of your life. Okay, the fourth financial habit that you should strive to accomplish in your 20s is that you should be financially prepared to purchase your first home. It's unlikely that you'll actually buy your first home in your 20s, but that doesn't mean you cannot start preparing to do so. Purchasing a house is a significant investment that most people have to plan and save up for. And unless you have a ton of money just sitting off to the side that's not for retirement, you're gonna need to save up for the moment that you are ready to purchase a home. And let me be clear, there's no rush to actually buy the house. You'll know when that time is right for you. But I just want you to be ready financially so that when the time comes, you're ready to do it. Because if you don't plan, you don't save, and it just sneaks up on you, you're gonna be out of luck. And I expect some pushback here, but I think you should push yourself and be ready to purchase your first home financially by the time you turn 30. And when I say ready, I mean 2 things. The first is that you should have the amount of the down payment saved up by the time you turn 30. So if you need $30,000 as a down payment for the range of home that you're looking for, try to have that full amount saved up by age 30. That way, when the right house comes along, you don't have to scramble to pull the money together. You have it ready to go. And if you don't plan ahead for this, you might find a great house that's great for your situation, but you don't have the money ready to actually make the purchase. And you'll have to pass and settle for another house because you still have to save up your down payment. And the second thing you need to do to be ready to purchase that house is to have a credit score of 750 or higher. Remember when we talked about being smart with your money and staying out of consumer debt? Well, that's going to be really important here. You need to take actions to actually build your credit, but you need to be really careful so that you don't make any mistakes that just destroy your finances. Not having a high credit score is going to severely limit your options when you do decide to purchase a house because you're not going to be able to qualify for any mortgages. I think the best way to start building your credit score in your 20s is to get a credit card with no annual fee and start charging small purchases to it and then pay off your entire balance every month. When I turned 18, I got my first credit card and I would just fill up my gas tank in my car and then pay off my balance at the end of every month. And that piece is absolutely crucial. You have to pay your balance off in full every month. Not the minimum payment, not half of your balance, the entire balance. Keep the whole thing paid off. If you don't, and you end up carrying a balance, we've already talked about how that's gonna severely limit your finances moving forward, but it's also gonna actually hurt your credit score instead of helping it, which makes getting a credit card completely pointless. And then as you progress through your 20s, consider opening more credit cards to improve your credit utilization score and your credit score, but that doesn't mean you need to actually spend more money. Your credit score actually gets better when you have a lot of credit available to you, but you show lenders that you actually don't need or use a lot of that credit. So it's good to have a lot of cards open so that you have a high amount of total credit, but never let that actually impact your spending habits. Only use them as a vehicle to build your credit score. If you're carrying a balance or you're letting credit cards increase your spending in negative ways, then credit cards are not good and they're just hurting your finances. But I digress. If you save your money, you have a plan, and you take good care of your credit, you'll be thanking yourself when it finally comes time to purchase that house. All right, number 5 is kind of a general goal, but the 5th financial goal that you should strive to accomplish in your 20s is to just have a financial plan for all goals you have throughout your life. And I know, it seems super obvious, but I wanted to close with this thought because I think for the most part, people are underprepared when it comes to their life and what they want to do with their life. They don't actually think about what they want, and because of that, they don't plan financially to accomplish what they want to. So you don't need to be fully ready for everything that you want to do in your life by the time you turn 30, but you should just walk through some goals that you know you want to accomplish and devise a plan to actually accomplish those. We already talked about buying a home and retirement investing, so we'll leave those 2 things out for now. But here's a few other examples of other things you may need to plan for. The first example is advanced education, like a master's degree or a doctorate degree. Are you planning on going back to school at all? If you are, make sure you run the numbers and make sure it makes sense financially. I think a lot of people prioritize advanced education, and it doesn't actually help their earning potential in the long run, so it might not be worth it financially for you. But if you do decide it makes sense, start saving as early as possible. Create a plan to actually pay for that schooling so that, again, you're not strapped down with bad student loan debt late in your life. And advanced degrees can be more dangerous because you usually do them when you're older, which is just delaying the amount of time that you're actually getting out of debt and staying debt-free. So make sure you have a plan when it comes to your advanced education. Another example is marriage. Are you planning to get married? Well, weddings are expensive, and it's never acceptable to borrow money for a wedding. Ever. So, if you see yourself getting married, it doesn't hurt to start saving as early as possible. Also, vacations. Vacations are a huge reason why people go into credit card debt. And it's because they don't have a plan. They have a trip opportunity come up, their friends are doing something super fun, and they don't want to miss out. So, they'll use their credit card to pay for the trip, and then tell themselves that they'll just pay it off later. So start thinking about those trips you know you'll want to take. You don't have to have everything planned out. That's not the purpose of this at all. But for those milestone trips, those big things you know you want to do in the next 5 to 10 years, start planning and saving for them now so that you have the money available, it's stress-free. And honestly, if you do that, you're gonna have more fun anyway. So it's really a win-win. And there's a lot of other examples, but the last one I'm gonna mention is children's education. If you don't have kids yet, I wouldn't worry too much about this one. But if you do have kids and they're planning to go to college and you want to help them fund that college, then you should start saving and investing as soon as you can for them. And there's a lot of tax-advantaged investing accounts that you can use for children's education. So make sure you research that so that you can maximize those savings as much as possible. And again, there's countless examples we could talk about here. The main point is that you just need to think ahead and plan a little bit. Again, stuff in life is going to come up. You can never plan for anything, but I guarantee you have some goals and you have an idea of things you might like to do or things that might happen in your life. So the earlier you can plan for those and start setting money aside, the better off you're going to be for it. And that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think of these goals that I think you should accomplish in your 20s. Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that I said that you disagree with? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear about it. I want to know. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. And again, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.